But I still kept playing music because music was in my blood. In fact, when I was in my second year of law school, I went on the road with Jimmy Livingston's orchestra. We were playing a series of proms in Virginia and North Carolina on the way to Myrtle Beach, where the band was booked to play the whole summer at the Ocean Forest Hotel in Myrtle Beach. At that time, Myrtle Beach didn't have the hotels that they have today, and the Ocean Forest was the biggest hotel, and they had a big outdoor nightclub, and that's where the band played at night. And I was playing there for the first couple of weeks when I started to have problems with my bad leg, my left leg. Wound up in a hospital in Conway, South Carolina for a week. Got sent home, left the band, came home, I was home 2 days. The infection flared up again. My parents got in touch with the VA and I wound up at Fort Howard Hospital. But I had a series of operations after that, and it finally cleared up to the point where I haven't had any problems today, except age has sort of damaged the knees. I could use a couple of new knees, but nobody wants to operate when you're 100. Why bother? But anyway, as I said, music is always part of my life. I met and I've played, for example, I played in the block for strippers. I played for all kinds of automobile shows, and I played Broadway productions when they came over, and I played the Hippodrome Theater when they would go on stage. They would enlarge the band by adding an extra saxophone and trumpet. That was the extra person that they hired for that. So I played music all the time, and that's where I met my wife when I was playing at Gwynn Oak Park. Gwynn Oak Park is no longer in existence, but in its day it was a place where people went to dance in the summertime. They had a big pavilion, and she was there dancing, and I met her at that, and we eventually married, and eventually had 4 beautiful daughters. And as I say, the daughters now control my life. I can do very little, but I can, they're okay, you know. But as I say, that was all part of my musical life. And then I also decided, after I passed the bar examination, to become active politically in the union. And the first year I ran for office, I lost. The second year, I won a seat on the local executive board and eventually became president of the local union, and then got involved on the national level, as Tommy Lee mentioned, and spent 20 years as an official of the American Federation of Musicians and 10 years as the president. And believe me, it was a wonderful life because we had an office in New York, we had an office in Toronto, and an office in Hollywood. So as president, I could go to either any office I wanted to, and I would make it a point to go to the West Coast periodically, which gave me an opportunity to visit with my sister, who was living in Palos Verdes Estates in California. And I'm pleased that today my sister's family is well represented here today. My nephews have come from San Francisco, San Antonio, Texas, Los Angeles. My grandniece came from Chicago, and my niece from LA. The fact that they came all that distance for this party, and I know it wasn't for the food and drink, is really an honor and a pleasure that they made that trip. and I appreciate it very much. And as I said before, the common question is, what's the secret to becoming 100? And I would say most of it must be luck. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I wish I had 2 new knees, I know that, but unfortunately, because you are 100, they don't like to operate on you. They go, why bother at that age? But I see some of my friends like Eddie Kane Jr. walking around here with a cane, and he's got a bad knee, and he's a lot younger than I am. But as I said before, I was very fortunate. A lot of people have trouble pronouncing my name, I noticed, which is not new. In fact, when I was in the Army and they used to call the roll, when they'd stop, I'd say here. But when I first became an official of the National Federation, of the American Federation of Musicians, we had a meeting scheduled for Chile, which is my father's home country. And before I left, my father said, when you go there, you're going to find that our name is like Smith in the United States. So when I got to Santiago, I took the telephone directory in the hotel and looked in it, and I counted 50 Fuente Albas. And of course, everywhere I went in Chile, they would speak Spanish to me when they saw my name, and my Spanish was very limited, but they would automatically speak Spanish. So it is Fuente Alba, that's how it's pronounced. When you pronounce every syllable, it's very simple, and it means white fountain in Spanish. But I've been very fortunate, as I said before, I've been very fortunate with my career. As president of the union, I was able to travel quite a bit because we had musicians, locals all throughout the United States and Canada. We participated in international meetings, so I've had the opportunity to visit many European countries. I've been to the White House for dinner when President Carter was president. I sat at the White House Correspondents' Dinner with President Nixon at the head table, and so it's had a lot of benefits. But regardless of all of that, as I said in the beginning, the most important part of my life are my 4 daughters and their families, which continually grow. In fact, if you ask me how many great-grandchildren I have, I couldn't tell you. Because I haven't sat down with a calculator to start counting. But I love my family and I love my daughters, and I hope that you enjoyed yourself today celebrating this 100th birthday. And I hope that I will continue to be able to meet with you and see you in the future. And thanks again for coming. I appreciate it.
There's coffee and tea and things in the back, so help yourself. We're going to cut the cake.